Hi, this is IK. Welcome to three applications. Three applications go through all these 100 and more hours of my playlist. It is all about, it is blog post, about post. And data is array post. Members of array post is post, singular post. Array is postes, plural, and singular post is members of that array. Every post is object. Array postes, there is object for members. Post object for members. Every object, there is ID, title, content, or ID, heading, blogspot, or any other what I say. There is a three field, we can say, but it is in table, in database. But here it is object. There is three properties: ID, heading, blogspot, or blog post, or ID, title, content. Okay, it is the most important. It is main engine that we say. It is data flow. What is data and how that data flow? How income, how outcome, how go through our website. In one application, application 470, data is array of post. Name of that array is postes, plural, and members, there is a members post. And in every of that application is posts, plural, array post is data. Data, what would flow through our React application. In all three applications, our data, it is post, flow through React component. In one application, it is 454, we have Redux, React Redux. And that moment, for example, data, it is our post, go in variable post, what we call, and we call that data. In React, we call data state variable. It is data variable. It is a state. And data post is state, is variable in Redux store. Or if we have only a React without Redux, that posts is a state in component. And okay, name, not end. It stay in component posts. When we have Redux, posts stay in state. Who initial create our posts in React? State posts in React without Redux. It create programmers, developer who coding. That developers code variable posts in component, and that by M set state. Every variable declare by set state is variable of that component. Is variable of that component. And we, like developer, if we need post in our read component, for example, we declare that variable post, and the function set post we declare to variable. It is practically to variable because we declare only reference to function, and assign set state. Post, we declare that, and after initial rendering, it is, for example, can be some initial value. But after initial rendering, we have use effect, and the use effect call fetch data. Fetch data in asynchronous process, send request to server and receive response data, and we see on the screen, on user interface, we see all posts, what was hard saving in mock server. Again, we declare posts in component read.js. We declare it by set state, and always declare it with the declare function set state. And it is equal a use state, assigning use state with some initial value. But after use effect, we have what we have on the server, and we see post what we get from server. It is without Redux. It is only React. Redux, that post go to state in a Redux store. It is a physically separate software. It is a separate team in Facebook, all separate logic, and can be used in any others framework and library, not only React. Redux, and that what coming in component post, state post before, now coming in state in Redux store, would be dispatched to Redux. And how we see something, what is in Redux, state post in Redux, how we see that in component. We see that because exists use selector. Use selector is a sensor, is a listener, changes in Redux state. And the use selector take its state and give to component like props, that state coming in component props. It means that component read.js without Redux, there is a posts array in component. It is a variable in component. And what coming from server also is in component. It is changes, and any changes all time, it is changes in component. But with Redux, always changes in a state of store in Redux. Post state in store, in Redux store, and changes in store, in Redux, and coming in component by use selector. Coming in component as props. It is props, and any other component where it is need, it is props. All component what need state from Redux use selector. It is something like subscribe to that state, and use selector bring its state as props in a component. When we have a React component without React component, without Redux, all changes is by use state by set state, state and set state. Every state there is a set state, and that set state immutable update state. With the Redux, only reducer changes immutable update state in Redux, state in Redux store. Only reducer function can immutable update reducer. And we have third application where we must where we have Redux, but we must go outside in a mock server, get data. Redux don't understand asynchronous process, only synchron. And because of that, we have middleware. Part of that middleware for us is interesting is Thunk function. Thunk function can wrap promise, wrap all that code, what we have axios.get, our Thunk function wrap it, and Thunk function have possibility that every changes in promise object dispatch to state in Redux, dispatch it to state in Redux. And when promise said that processes succeed, it means response data is full of post, full of data from server. That moment that dispatch to state complete data from server, and we see that data in the component. But how? By help of use selector. Use selector see that data coming, that changes happen, and use selector bring that new state to component and compare. Use selector compare new state, what bring, with the existing actual state, and if it is different, use selector activate rendering, and use selector brings new state, and the rendering will render that new state, and we see on the screen that new state. Why we can code as we want? Of course, only when only this application would have only state from event in React and save it in a memory of our computers. And when we close application, data disappear. Of course, that part of coding is not valid always, because we need hard save data, and it is server, database, etc. But in practice, there is a possibility that we use data what is only in our memory of client, not send that changes to server in any change, in every changes of that data, like basket in e-commerce. Okay, but it is learning. Learning without Redux, learning with Redux without Thunk, and learning with Redux and Thunk. Always data is visible in React. React is front end. And Redux is pattern of pattern library for state management. It is big, strong state management. What must know what happened with data outside of React. And because of that middleware and Thunk function and dispatch coming from asynchronous process by Thunk function. Again, same state, posts plural array. Without Redux, state is state post is declared by use state hook, and in the same time is declared with function set state, set state, posts set posts. And always any state is state what was declared by use state hook. And without Redux, it is in component. With Redux, it is also in component, but like props, because state go in Redux state and go down like props, go down in any component like props. And Thunk, when we have Thunk, we have React Redux Thunk because what Redux won't control asynchronous process and control it by function Thunk by middleware and dispatch action creator from that process. It would be pending, and it would be always to dispatch pending, and after pending succeeded or not succeeded or failed. Thunk. It is Thunk. In Redux, without Thunk, we have reducer. In both, we have a slice. It is configuration for a Redux. Configuration for state, for reducer, action creator. It is slate, post, slash, comment, slash, etc. We have in that three application, we spoke about post slice, and in that post slice we have a reducer and function for change what to do with the payload. In Thunk, when we use Thunk, we have extra reducer. And that is difference in coding, extra reducer, and also we have a Thunk function. We have Thunk function. In reducer, we have function. In Thunk, when we have Thunk function. Only reducer. Without Thunk, we have function, not Thunk, but function. Here we have Thunk function. It is type of function. It is function what wrap existing function, existing request in other kind of application. Okay, in this video I want to accent our mind about the state, about state and who create that state, who initiate that state, and from where coming state, where that state is saved, memorized, and who change that state, who immutable change. It is interesting that is in post slice. It is component slice, what coming with this new version of reducer of Redux, new version of Redux Toolkit. That version Redux Toolkit give us some excellent function, what create slice, what create thunk function. And in that slice component, we have reducer. We declare it all about defining all about reducer. It means that we declare action payload, that we declare action string, action type, what to do with that payload. And it is when we have reducer, when we have thunk also, we have extra reducer, but we have slice, that component. Where is function? Function is in slice. Function about state is in slice component. But where is function about state without Redux? That function is in component which is owner of state. Component owner of state must have all function for change. Sometimes, if need, that function can be in child, never be in child, always be in parent component, but that parent component function sometimes can be activate, can be called from child component by callback props, by callback props. Again, accent of this video is on state, who produce, who create initial state, who initial state we create in component what without Redux in component by user state. User state, there is a parameter initial state. For example, for post, user state in parentheses, like parameter can have an empty array. It is initial state. In slice component, when we have Redux or Redux Thunk, and Redux Thunk, we have in slice component initial state, create initial state. All about state go in slice when we have Redux Thunk. All about state go in component where we have not Redux Thunk. State must have in same component, must have function for change it. And it is always function set state, but it is not enough. We need function not only set in function that use set post absolutely only changed immutable update state, but that set post, set state is only part of some other function. For example, fetch post here. Look at, we must have some logic. Set loading true. We have that that request axios.get and look at, we take that data and now we set post, we change post, but we set is loading to false, is loading to true. On that function, I think that must be in function where is state. We now in read.js function, it is fetch post, and look at here is a read. It is in read component. In read component, where is initial state, we have also function. Function, what inside have set post. We need some logic around why we need is loading. We need to have information for user interface. For user interface. Because developer is different from programmers, because developer must think on user interface, not only programming, but also user interface. For programming is this important. And of course, this important. And this important. For programming, for data, for manipulation with data, data flow. But here we need this, we need set true, set false, set is loading, that we know how start to show on the user interface, show animation of waiting, loading, and when stop that animation loading. Yeah. Okay. Look at handle. We use function handle new post. That here it is set post. But set post, there is only function and parameter. But that handle add new post equal arrow. Arrow function have parameter for take a new post actual data from outside, from component, and give that in body, and in body we use set post. Always our set state is wrapped in some function because developer must develop user interface and programming. But there is more and more developers became full stack developers. Handle delete. Handle delete. Handle delete also is arrow function. And look at in handle delete where is position of set post, because we must Axios send request to server. It is not only set post, must send, and we need the function what have inside set post, set state, but also there is a lot of other jobs like get, delete, or update the data on server, etc. And that function is in a component which own state. State and function go in same component. In when Redux, we have Redux, state go in slice component. Function in slice component. Slice component. And that state is in Redux store, and that state can go in any component, subscribed component with user selector, like props. It is interesting that props can become state. How? In update. In update, we have props, but when we click in fields of form to change and change data, that change data are state of update component. And that state would be dispatched to Redux, or would be dispatched always, would be dispatched to server. To server, dispatched to Redux store, but because dispatch is method of Redux store, but that dispatch go to outside, must go to server and update server software update itself and send same data back like response, and we take that response data in our code and update our state. All it go, if we have Redux, all it go from our click in React, go outside in by Thunk function to server and go get back by dispatch, get back to Redux Redux store, Redux state, and by user selector would be transformed to a component, and the component show it re-render, component re-render, and show it in user interface on the screen. Think about that. Think about that. Experiment in that. Look at that. The three application. It is actual application. It is a Lego box for all others application. It is the simple application, but they said all about React, Redux Thunk, all about. And with knowledge in that simple application, simplest possible application, React application, you have all knowledge. If you know all that, and if you know code it, understand it, if you know explain it, you must know explain. You in company you don't receive the task what to do. You only can response your story about some problems. Your story, your warrant, your how to do, and your possibility that you know explain is very, very important. I read that physics science, now it is actual movie, who was on the leader of team, was not the best physician in that time. Contrary, but military choose him because he the best know the best explain problem to like military functionary general, etc. He now explain. He don't know. He don't know do what the best physician can, but he can the best explain to like. Explanation is very important for every investment also, selling. selling, but in job you sell you. You sell your knowledge. But how show your knowledge through work, but also through your explanation something. And you like, I opened this channel for my training of explain. I like explain for explanation. But before that, I must learn. I must uh, try all kind of learning, method of learning, coding, copy paste coding, read about that, research some coding, and thinking my I thinking about that, and I have explanation. I like explain because I think that I know what I didn't know. I know that, but to know that means understand, and very very deep understand, deep possible understand. Uh, Thank you for watching this video.